Hi guys! Today on the Lumpy Limpy Hiker, we are going to talk about cooking on the trail. I know this taco looks delicious, but that is not what we will be cooking on this particular backpacking trip. So, let's find a good place to hike and move on, and then when we get hungry, we'll get to cooking.
This is a very crickety boardwalk. It's like waves.
I like it. It's so pretty.
Yeah, it's a nice spot. The problem with this sign that says stay behind fence is I feel like right now we're in front of the fence.
Yeah.
So are we breaking the rules now? Should we be on that little trail spot behind the fence? I feel like the sign is a bad sign. What a pretty day.
No kidding. It's gorgeous.
So when you're cooking as a backpacker, you're looking for a different nutritional values than you are for somebody who's sedentary or somebody who is mildly active in a day. As a backpacker, you're hiking quite a bit, especially if you're going on long hikes, and so your calorie needs are definitely different. The other thing that's very different for you when you're cooking as a backpacker is that you have to carry in anything that you're going to be cooking. So you're really limited to things that are packaged well, that are lightweight, don't need to be refrigerated, and so on. Unfortunately, this cuts out a lot of your fruits and vegetables and things like that unless you can get them freeze-dried, which is either a process where you can dehydrate them yourselves or where you have to order them that way. If you order them that way, it's a pretty expensive adventure, and if you're going to dehydrate them, you need to have the right equipment to do that. So today I'm limited to just what I have in my pack for calories. So what am I looking for? I'm looking for something that's relatively high in calorie, hopefully, so that it will cover the calories for my day. I'm looking for something that's high in protein and also high in carbohydrates, because I need not only my muscles to go, but I need my brain to go, and I need my energy to be high at all times. So let me show you what's in my pack. Okay, so my basic backpacking cook system is just this little stainless steel pot. It's got a strainer on it, which I like, and pretty much all you want to be able to cook in here is water. You don't want to use anything else in there because you don't have anything besides a little thing of hand sanitizer to clean with. So you really just want to boil water with that. And then I've got this cup. Okay, now that the Oming children have gone on, I'm going to talk about this collapsible cup that I love so much. It has a 2-cup measuring tool inside it. You can kind of see that, so that you can measure how much water or whatever that you're putting in there. Since I don't have a lot of dried vegetables, what I have here is some dried onions and garlic and celery that I'm going to add into what I'm going to make today, just because I'm limited to what I've got. Most important thing is your water. If you don't have water, I use this water filter, and I get water from, random water sources that you happen to see laying around. So some taste better than others, I assure you. Drinking water out of the Milwaukee River is very algae tasting, but I didn't die. So I usually carry 2 liters of water, and that. I usually don't carry that full, but if it seemed like there was going to be a lot of people. Or not a lot of water sources. Sorry, I'm distracted because there are a lot of people. Okay, moving on to the foods that I've got in here. I've got some sort of breakfast/snack foods. These granolas. Now, if you look at this, the granolas, it's got 140 calories for 1/3 of a cup, which isn't very many. So that's good. That's high in calorie. That's what we want. It's only 2 grams of protein, which is not going to cut it. So I would want to add a protein to this in order to make this a better hiking snack. So I would put in maybe some almonds, which typically I'll use the almonds for my oatmeal in the morning. But as you can see, almonds have a much better protein source, 9 grams for this little package. And so that is what we want. You're looking at high sodium, but that's also actually okay because when you're hiking a lot, you're losing a lot of water and you're losing sodium. So the sodium helps you to keep the water, and that's important. You also kind of want a high fat content, which is a little bit opposite of what you may be used to if you're looking at, say, Choose My Plate. But that fat makes for really great calories that last you a little while when you are on the trail. So that's important. A regular oatmeal bar is another good thing. And the protein content, and this is again only about 3 grams. And we're really looking at the protein and the fat and the calories. But you can get 190 calories out of this. You know, that'll get you through an hour of walking if you need it to. These Cliff protein bars are also really good. For me, I have to make sure that they're gluten-free before I can eat them. So I'm always looking to see if there's hidden wheat in there. And this one tells me that it may contain wheat, but I can usually get away with just a little. Nice thing is, this is 250 calories. And let's get over to the protein here. It's 14 grams of protein. So these are really fantastic for walking on the trail. As far as carbohydrates, you're still getting your fibers. You're still getting 25 grams of carbs, and that's important when you are on the trail. So it's good. I mean, there's also your essential vitamins. There's not a lot of vitamin D, but here, check this out. Vitamin D, right there. Sweet, right? Okay. Junk food for a quick snack. It's actually not this great. These aren't really great to carry. This is all crumbs now because it's been in there for a while because I never got around to eating it. In this bag, I've got like little peanut butter crackers, and in this one, I've got some sort of a cookie thing. These are tortillas so that I can use them to make a sort of a tortilla sandwich out of whatever I've got. So now let me show you the hefty bulk food that I've got. So as the base of what we're going to do today, I've got rice ramen noodles. They're just a rice version of the ramen noodles. Sorry, it's so blurry. I'm trying to work that out. So you get 140 calories from the noodles. We're going to share today, so we're going to add extra things to this. Ooh, the flies are biting. Okay, now here are some very common hiking meats, and we're going to make some decisions here. So we've got chunk tuna in light water. Let's look at the 3 tunas first. We've got sweet and spicy tuna creations, and we've got the albacore white tuna. Based on hiking rules, it is the tuna creations that we want because you get 20 extra calories in the sweet and spicy tuna creations. So that's really what we want. Plus, you're also going to get some more nutrition because of the added foods that are inside there. So we're going to look at that, and we're going to put these away. We're also going to add some chunk white chicken, potentially, where we can get another 70 calories. And this has 3 servings of that 70 calories. So that's super awesome. There's even like a little recipe on here that you can use. These are all things that don't need to be refrigerated because of the way they're packaged. There's a hiker out there that calls these meat push pops. It's just Spam in a packet, and she just pushes it up and eats it. Spam is good in that it's high fat, and it's also high sodium. It's got 210 calories, and it is a whole bunch of sodium, which, again, for the sake of hiking, you're doing a lot of sweating, those things are what you want. It's got 9 grams of protein in this little bitty package. So, big bang for what you're looking for. Alright, we're gonna put together our little recipe here and see how it turns out. I mentioned what I'm cooking with. So in here, I've got something called an MSR pocket rocket. It's just a tiny little backpacking stove, and it folds out and then it screws onto. This is a butane propane mix. It screws onto that. And then, of course, we've got hand sanitizer and wipes to help get ourselves cleaned up in order to make this meal doable. We're going to put all of this together. We're going to hike to a place where there's fewer flies, and then we're going to go ahead and cook this baby.
Oh, we've gone to the circus now. Excellent. That was part of the video.
This is Melissa. Say hi, Melissa.
Hi.
Melissa is going to be our chef for the day, and she is going to help us get started. So, we're going to get started with the water because the rice ramen requires 2 cups of water. And we could add more or less depending on how much soup we want to make, but we're going to take the fancy green measuring cup and just fill it with 2 cups of water. And we're going to get that to a boil. And once that's to a boil, we will get back to you. We always put the lid on when we're boiling, when we're backpacking, because we want to use as little fuel as possible. This little pocket rocket gives off pretty good heat, and it's not even at its highest right now, so it will boil pretty quickly. And Melissa makes another good point. It's good to have a bandana or something with you so that you can use it as a pot holder. We might also take off the buff on our head or our own clothing in order to not burn ourselves in the event that the fire gets pretty good. In this case, because of the way the fire hits the pan, we shouldn't need it. This handle doesn't usually get very hot because the fire, it stays directly under the pan. It doesn't sort of surround the bottom, which is nice. So, we're almost about at a boil, and with ramen, you don't have to get it all the way to a boil, and we're not, again, trying to use all of our fuel, so we're going to go ahead and put the noodles in carefully. We're using ramen because that particular kind of noodle cooks very quickly, so we don't have to worry about fuel as much. Now we've got the titanium spork, which is extra long, so that when you're eating backpacking pouches, you can reach into the bottom of them, which is super. And at this point, we're going to go ahead and put in some of the seasoning vegetables. Again, we have about a teaspoon of onion, we have a teaspoon of garlic, and maybe a 1/4 teaspoon of celery seed. And then she's putting in, for sodium's sake, some of the chicken pouch from one of the ramen noodles that is not gluten-free, because we don't like the seasoning from the ramen noodle Lotus Foods. We're going to pause for a minute and let that cook.
And if I do that, the good part about doing that is saying, I'm taking a month off. I already got this plan, so that's what's happening.
So it's been about a minute and the noodles are just about done. Now we can pretty much stop this heat, and then we can add in, which we just turn this, ooh, that was the wrong way. Turn that until it cuts the gas off, and then we can add our meats. So we're going to add in our tuna so that we've got some good sources of, what do we got? Iron, vitamin D. What else is in fish? There's so many good things in fish. Got excellent vitamin D in there. Great source of potassium, vitamin B6, and B12, which gives you lots of good energy. Good source of niacin as well. So we're going to get these tunas in there, and we're very excited. We'll get back to you as soon as we get that done. Okay, we've opted for the 2 lower calorie just because of the seasons that we put in there. We decided that the lower calorie tuna will be better. She's going to get out that awesome titanium spork, which will get her right to the bottom of that packet, and dig the tuna into this fabulousness. Now, backpacker food may not seem super appetizing when you look at it like this, but I'm going to tell you what, when you've been hiking, this is like, it's like the heavens have come down to join you when you make something like this. And we don't have the heat on right now because everything that needs to be cooked is cooked, and we don't want to waste our fuel. We may turn it on for a bit just to let it all soak up. So we picked up these almonds at a gas station. We have a special bag for the garbage, which we'll put it all in so that we can pack out what we packed in. And we picked up these almonds at a gas station on the way here, and we can mix those in there for even some more extra wonderful goodness. And the almonds are going to give you a good source of magnesium. They're going to give you some calcium and some vitamin E, which will make it all a very well-rounded meal, considering that we don't have an option to put a lot of good vegetables in here. So we poured the almonds in, and now we're stirring it up. If we had some more dehydrated vegetables, maybe carrots would be super in here, some corn, some tomatoes even, would all be super, but we don't have those right now. So we're going to just heat this up a little bit to let the flavors blend a little bit more. And that is our almond tuna ramen soup. Backpacking food from the gods. This is Sean. Sean hates everything. Sean, try the soup.
I don't want to try the soup.
I know, but try the soup. Marksette, try the soup. Don't worry.
I'm scared. It's gonna be weird.
Yes.
And it's gonna have.
It's certainly going to be the grossest thing you've eaten all day. But since you haven't eaten anything all day, it's also going to be the best thing you've eaten all day. What do we think?
I think the fact that it has that weird tuna in it.
I know you don't like tuna.
Makes me not want to eat it. I like tuna as long as it's not in those stupid packets.
Watch it.
NA.
I'll pull you off the cliff.
She's going to pull me off the cliff. So we have to eat all of this because you can't pack soup out. And you don't want to leave a trace by feeding the animals in the woods. So here we go, eating our what did I call it? Tuna almond ramen soup. Now that we're well fed, we have all got plenty of energy to keep going on our extremely long day hike today. I want to talk a minute about hygiene when you're cooking, when you're backpacking. You're pretty limited on how you can do hygiene. So you have to make sure that you have, that you're protecting yourself. I mean, foodborne illnesses can happen really easily on the trail, as can waterborne illnesses. So starting with the water, it's really important that if you're getting water from a natural source, like what you see behind me, that you're filtering your water with a good filter that's going to take care of most of the bacteria. You want to make sure that you're getting it from moving water, not from still water. And because the moving water will filter some of that out for you. And then you also want to make sure that your water has not been contaminated with something toxic, which is a trickier thing. You don't always know. If you're really out in the wilderness, usually that's less of an issue and you're more worried about bacteria, things like listeriosis. So a good filter, and then, making sure not to touch any part of the bad water to your filter area so that it does not end up contaminating the clean water that you have filtered. And then boiling water is also a good thing. So if you get your water to a good boil and you keep it there for a few minutes, some people say 10, really if you just do it for a couple of minutes, that'll do the trick, and kill off most of the bad bacteria that's in there and stop the growth of it anyway. Then when you're looking at your food, you're really, like I mentioned in the cooking video, that you don't want to cook anything besides water in the pot, and then I proceeded to make soup. You can do that, but then you have to make sure that you are sanitizing what you have. When you're cooking with water, you don't have to worry about it once you boil the water, your pan is still basically clean. But if you're having something like soup, you do need to first wipe out your pot. Usually when you're backpacking, you use something like a bandana that you keep for this purpose. And then, because you keep all your food scraps and everything so that you're not packing, so you're not leaving food out in the wilderness. But then you also want to make sure you rinse it out really good. And then what I do is I use some hand sanitizer, because that's the only sanitizer that I have, and I'll wipe down the pot that I've used with hand sanitizer once I get all of the food items out of it. You can use, I carry like a little scraper with me sometimes to help get the food items off. But that is a big focus, is making sure that things are as clean and sanitized as possible. You can also reboil, if you have enough fuel or if you have a fire, you can also reboil water in the pot to help sanitize anything that's in there. You want to make sure that you clean your spork and your little green measuring cup if it had anything other than water in it as well. And then making sure putting things dry so that mold and mildew don't collect on them is also key to helping keep you from getting sick while you're having food along the trail backpacking. So these are pretty important things, and really good ways to not make yourself super sick while you're out in the middle of nowhere and can't get any help. So just another piece